Warning: the views and opinions expressed in this program are our own and/or those of our guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of our employers. Viewers' discretion is advised.
I already spent like 3.5 months chasing this guy down, right? For no reason, when this was never my deal to begin with, right?
This guy, he'll never talk to me again, probably, because it was just so bone crushing for everybody.
And then here's the second hurdle. If you get these documents by this date, we're not going to make it, right? So you decide.
Sweet little threats.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be in there as a business expense. You have a yogurt shop. What are you doing in Europe? You know? I mean, that's the...
Wait, it's not allowed to be out of back, really?
I do one coffee.
I can't
today.
drink that much coffee.
I was drinking coffee at 7 p.m. last night. Does anybody else do that?
Dude.
My mom drinks it at 11 p.m. She drinks it like 11 p.m. and goes to bed afterwards.
I don't know if it's an Italian thing or what, but my whole family drinks decaf coffee at night, and they're all Italian.
What's the purpose of decaf?
I think it's just like to warm your. It's the taste of like they love coffee, and like after we're done eating and all the pasta's put away and all the desserts are out, everybody does decaf coffee at night. It's crazy.
That's like
Crazy.
non-alcoholic beer. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Basically, dude.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the BDO Show. This is a podcast for BDOs by BDOs. I'm your host, Emily Detor, and I am here with my fellow co-hosts, Andrew Chong, John Chung, Daniel Park, and Zach Bennett. At the beginning of each episode, we're always going to remind you to like and subscribe and send over your topics and suggestions to the BDO Show at artofsba.com. Okay, BDOs, it's story time. And no, I am not talking about the time Sterling tried to finance a zoo. You'll have to go back to episode 3 for that. I'm talking about the story that your borrower has in their head, and they may need that extra boost to finally get it onto paper. Rapid Business Plans is a known and trusted partner that can help them do just that. Whether your borrowers are working towards acquiring a business, starting one up, or expanding and making moves, within just a few short days, Rapid Business Plans will deliver powerful, fast, SBA and USDA ready business plans with projections and assumptions. If they need an export business plan for an ITL loan or a feasibility study, they have you covered there too. We know this process is not a walk in the park, or should I say zoo. Let the Rapid Business Plans team take some of the wild out of the process so that your borrower's vision and passions can come to life. For more information or to get acquainted, email Bethany McClellan at bethany@rapidbusinessplans.com or click the link in the show notes. This episode, we're going to get emotional. No, we're going to talk about the emotional roller coaster ride of SBA lending. We're talking about deals dying after months, fighting with, not really like fighting, but going back and forth with credit and underwriters and just making sure that we're doing what we said we were going to do for the borrowers. Not even fighting with borrowers, but just making sure the borrowers are saying what they're going to do. It's very emotional. It's up and down. There's highs and lows. We're going to talk about some last minute issues, maybe some animosity with brokers here and there. And just, again, we're all here for the same reason. We want to get the deal across the finish line. We want to add to the American dream of business owners. So I think that's probably why it gets as emotional as it does. But I wanted to start out the episode. Daniel, I won't call on you first. I'll go with Andrew this time. Andrew, let's talk about a deal that either like made you or broke you. Like maybe one that you were like so into that was awesome or awful, but it still kept your career going. Let's get into it.
Actually, I'm in a rut right now with, opposite of what you're saying, actually, if you don't mind. So this is the thing. I mean, the saying that time kills deals. I mean, every time it happens, right? I mean, of course, I've been doing it for a while, so I've seen this more than once, and it's just when brokers, borrowers, sellers, they don't really listen to you, and they're dragging their feet. You really, I mean, I am being emotional right now. I mean, you really gotta do some old-fashioned yelling, screaming, kicking kind of things, because I can't really get into the details, but if this deal would have happened 3 months ago, as I tried to make it happen, it would have happened. But because it went over a couple more months after updating the seller financials and borrower, it just didn't work out. Time does kill deals. So whatever it is that you can do to make it happen when it needs to happen at the appropriate time, I think that's what really needs to be done.
What about you, Zach? Let's talk about anything that's made you up, down, left, right, emotional.
I got a lot of deals. I feel like they were very, very emotional roller coasters, especially early on in my career. But yeah, one deal stands out. This was a deal. It was a newer broker, met through like friends, local guy, became really good friends with. He sends me this deal. There's definitely hairs on it, right? But I took it to the credit team. They're like, yeah, it looks like we can get around this. Let's get an appraisal. And so we got an appraisal. Everything made sense. We restructured it. We honestly went through multiple pre-screens through our bank president, chief credit officer, all that stuff. And but the problem was, like Andrew said, it took so long. The seller, the buyer, they weren't on the same page. There's back and forth. And honestly, the deal took almost a whole year. It was a purchase transaction. Mm-hmm. And we got all the way to the finish line. It looked good. I sent it. Everybody approved it except the chief credit officer. He had this question. He ends up leaving the bank that same week. He leaves. A new guy comes in, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to do this deal. And I'm like, what? Like, after a year, like, not only emotional, like through the whole process, right? Just the whole year process. And then it gets all the way down to the end. And then just a different set of eyes didn't want to do the deal. And so for me, that was probably the most crushing, by far, most crushing deal, because it was nothing that I did wrong, nothing that the borrower, the broker, my boss, everybody was on board, and we just couldn't get the last guy. And of all my deals in my career, I would say 99% of our deals get approved if it goes through a pre-screen. And that was the one time. And this guy, he'll never talk to me again, probably, because it was just so bone crushing for everybody and part of the deal. And so for me, that one really hurt.
Daniel, hit us with it.
I don't lose deals. Deals don't die on my clock.
Oh my goodness.
No. Okay, there is one deal. This was at my previous employer, right? So, and this is really, I guess it's somewhat my fault, right? This is a purchase. Doctor was buying a building, right? The guy was putting down 35% or like 40%, right? Cash flow is like literally 1.3 all 3 years. And I'm trying to put this guy in a 7A product, right? At prime plus 1.5. So I'm over here trying to convince this doctor, hey man, this is a good deal. And long story short, he went conventional. So I literally spent like 3.5 months chasing this guy down, right? For no reason, when this was never my deal to begin with, right? So that was just me being stubborn about it. So, so it didn't really break me, but it taught me a very expensive lesson. Like, hey, man, if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. It was never my deal to begin with, right? So that's kind of on me. So ever since then, if the deal's too good to be true, it's probably isn't my deal to begin with. And that's kind of the approach that I take now. Flip side to that, I did have a deal at this bank. It was a purchase deal. It was USDA. So that by and large, those already take, longer than.
Yeah.
But that one took about 6.5 months, almost 7 months to close. And this was a purchase, guys. So, after multiple extensions, we finally got it to the finish line. So that's one of my, a win story, a story for me. But, for the most part, as far as deals go, I kind of already know if the deals are not going to happen or not. And I just set the right expectations with the brokers, right? Like, hey, look, this deal's probably not going to happen. I really wouldn't, want to waste my time any further. And if you have another option, just go with that, 100%. So I try to flush out deals that I know I cannot get done on my bank here. That's what I do.
I won't necessarily talk in specifics on a certain deal, but I will tell you there was a period for a while where environmental companies had their hot buttons on certain things. So first it was asbestos, then it was soil contamination, right? Then it was the vapors coming up from the ground. So we've all heard of all this kind of stuff, right? It's just kind of like, I don't know, EPA changes, whatever changes on certain things. I did a childcare place before. And I think it's the law is it was built before 1985. There's like paint chips and there's lead in those paint chips. So you have to
Yeah,
take care
right. I heard of
stuff.
that.
Yeah, you have to take care of that side of things, which was a surprise. Luckily, the guy was super nice and he took care of it, and all that stuff kind of worked out. Oftentimes, appraisals, it's a purchase. Magically, it comes to the purchase price. I've seen that change recently, whereas they just, usually the meeting of the minds if buyer and seller agree on a price. Well, now they're like, well, the value's coming in lower, right? So that causes a headache because then you have to, there's a negotiation goes back and forth on that side of things. Most of the time, the deals are slow because of our borrower, to be honest with you. Not getting the documents in. We all get the question asked, hey, how fast can you close? And you send the call, introductory call, they sign your LOI. How fast can you, well, they probably even asked it beforehand. How fast can you close? I say, look, we can close as fast or as slow as you give us the stuff that we need to do to make this happen, right?
Yeah, man, let's talk about it.
Yeah. And then a lot of times what I try to do is I try to set little hurdles, right? Like, if you don't get us these documents by this date, there's no way we're going to make it, right? And then here's the second hurdle. If you don't get these documents by this date, we're not going to make it, right? So you decide.
Sweet little threats.
Yeah. It's not us deciding. You're deciding how fast we go. Because if you give us everything we need, trust me, we'll close, right? I think that's the main challenge most of the time today. Is right. Okay, first of all, we do SBA lending, and every borrower out there always like, oh, SBA lending, doesn't it take like 6 months to close a deal? I mean, they always have this preconception about how fast or slow you can go already. So they're really timid about coming on board with you already. They have these preconceptions on it. So I try to throw back to them. Say, hey, look, these are your deadline. It's my deadline. If you're going to give me a deadline, here's your deadlines, right? That you got to get this stuff. And the forms are always filled out incorrectly. They try to DocuSign everything when they can on some documents. I mean, you just name it. It goes across the board. There's always surprises that pop up, right? Oh, I didn't know about this. Oh, well, yeah, I did get arrested back then. It was a felony. It's cleared. And you're like, what the heck, right? If you would just disclose this, we wouldn't have this problem, right? Because I've seen people disclose some really crazy stuff and we got comfortable, which is nuts to me, right? But I think, it's just kind of keep your pulse in the market on the change in the environmental side of things. Having respectable appraisers, because everyone knows that when you get a short appraisal these days, it's some kid that works for the guy that you have a relationship with that's doing a messed up appraisal. And he's just signing it and just letting it go through. And then he's got to protect his employee, right? That's what kind of happens. So, yeah, I'm a little bitter about the appraisal environmental side of things, but I'll get over it. I mean, we have to deal with it. But the borrower side, I think, is probably the biggest challenge these days, right? I mean, everyone's working hard, everyone's good at their job, and they're not good at paperwork, right? So we talked a little bit before about utilizing AI to kind of help. I think that's the future, right? Having certain type of tools that the borrower can utilize after hours, right? And kind of walk them through the paperwork side of things so they can do it at their leisure, because oftentimes they're busy during the day. We all know that, right? So those are the kind of things, the next permutation. I think it's the future to kind of streamline the process. It'd be nice if, say, they send in a form wrong incorrectly and you can have AI generate a note to them like, hey, this is wrong, which, I mean, that'd be great. I think that's the kind of the challenges we face today. Yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster. Can't remember the last time I had a smooth deal go through. I don't even know if those exist, to be honest with you. Because even after it closed, I'm like, God, I hope they make the first payment because it just went too well. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and another thing, I mean, we all know this in SBA, no two deals are the same. So, but some of that paperwork will never change. So it's like those pieces, you're like, okay, this shouldn't take you a week, but if it does, just be prepared that should have taken you a couple hours. Also, if you need help, reach out to us. We've got so many team members that can be like, oh no, you don't need to check that box. Or yes, you do need to check that box. Or tell us if you did anything weird right now, because we're going to find out and it could be a big deal. So it's like hard to have those conversations, but you get used to it. But they're not used to it. They're not used to, it's about to be judgment time. And they're like, dang, I don't want to do all this. But anyway, so I was going to talk about, SBA lending can be therapeutic for us as well, because we're like, oh my God, we are literally responsible for a borrower's future and we're going to watch this business grow and we're going to add to the livelihood, and we're going to add to, the American dream of starting more businesses. And I think it's great because when those deals do fund, you're like, oh man, it feels so good. Like you just got out of a, kind of like a therapy session. It might have been some banter. It could have been good. It could have been good for you. It could have been bad for you. But I think it's great when you guys have stories like this that you're like, okay, it had me emotional because it means that you're not a robot and you do care. And this is a big deal. It's not just for your paycheck, but it's for the borrower as well.
Mhm.
Hey guys, we have a special announcement for anybody involved in M&A transactions. Our partner, Peak Business Valuation, have put together a resource just for BDO Show listeners, and they're giving it away for free. It lists out the rule of thumb formulas, or as Krogi would like to say, the down and dirty, for some of the most common industries that SBA lenders finance. I promise you it's going to come in handy. Krogi's literally still using the one he got from Nagel in 2002. By the way, if you're not thinking about evaluation at the pre-screen phase, you are missing the boat. A lot of BDOs tend to focus on the debt service coverage, and they're missing the valuation completely. That's a rookie move, and it will become a problem. As a consultative BDO, you should have a sense of whether the business is going to value out, and Peak's handy-dandy rule of thumb is here to help. Go to peakbizval.com/BDO show to get yours today. Let's talk about some of these deals like that die after months of work. Like that's gotta be like just a knife to the heart. It's gotta. But sometimes are you almost like whatever because it was a nightmare anyways, or does it sting?
You move on. I mean, I move on, right? Yeah, I've had deals die at the last minute, right? I mean, what do you do, right? It comes with the territory, right?
Break it off.
You just need to have you just need to have enough critical mass to fill in the blanks.
I think that's
we
what
all
it
look
is, yeah.
we all look at our pipeline and be like, okay, this one's gonna happen for sure, right? And
Yeah,
one,
exactly.
I really don't think that's gonna happen. And oftentimes it flips, right? The deal that you didn't think that you should give much time to, it funds, right? The deal you're like, it's ready to go, it doesn't for whatever reason, right? I think you just gotta have enough critical mass. And I think you mentally, I mean, I think I said it before, you can't get too high or too low in this job, right? Something bad happens, you can't 2 weeks from now, you're probably not going to think it's the worst thing in the world. But at that moment, you do, right? So you just kind of think that way, that it's not going to be that bad. Something great happens, don't get too big for your britches, right? You can't think that you're just the best things, because we're in sales. You're only as good as your last deal, right? So, I think you have to mentally, when a deal just gets messier and messier and messier. If you're telling me a story and it's a storytell deal and you're taking more than 10 minutes, I can tell you it's probably not going to happen. It's just too long of a story, right? The one or two problems that we can mitigate and they're explainable, great. If you start talking to me about, 10 minutes later, it's not probably going to happen because there's probably other things I'm going to find, to be honest with you.
Sometimes what I do, this is kind of helps me, I guess, when a deal dies at the last minute, right? I talk to my peers like, hey man, at another bank, like, would you have done this deal?
Yep.
And just say, no, it's like your validation. Like, okay, it was never meant to be in the first place, right? That's sometimes what I do, just to kind of make myself better. Like, okay, so this was never going to happen anyway. So, why do I even sit there and cry about it, right? And I just move on. Yeah.
I feel worse. And if the borrower did everything right and the deal should happen to die for whatever reason, third party. I feel really bad for the borrower because their money went hard. They're not refundable. They probably lost it at that point, right? Because this is something that happened last minute. I feel really bad for them, right? Oftentimes, you get good faith and you spend more money than good faith. And if you have, the power to do so, I'll just say, hey, we're just going to eat it. Because it was such a bad experience for them. You know what I mean? They really just lost 80 grand. So I'm not going to try to nickel and dime them for something else. You know what I mean?
What I try to do in that point right there is that, get them a bridge lender. So that way they have an alternate, option in the event, so that way, hey, look, I can't do it, but here's a hard money guy for you. Right? I mean, just kind of, take that route, right?
I mean,
try to come with a solution.
I think I like what we do because I'm fascinated to see how people make money, right? I've sat with somebody generation after generation, and they didn't know what a personal financial statement was. I sit with them; they're worth $11 million. I want to shoot myself, right? But then you sit with some people, and then you kind of go through the deal, and you kind of come along the process. But they know their business really well, right? And they're maybe infant stages of their business, and then you see them 5 years later, and they're just killing it. And that makes me feel really, really good about what we do, right? Because they needed to leverage the SBA to get where they're at today. Maybe they don't need it anymore, but the fact that it's enriching to feel somebody like, I mean, I guess doctors probably feel this way because they got the God complex and they save somebody's life, stuff like that. I mean, we're not doing that obviously, but the business, we're God. No, I'm just kidding. But the business itself, I mean, to help them and to, leverage the SBA and to help them through the process and to help educate them and get them through that process and to see them successful. I think that's what we all do what we're doing. I mean, at least that's what I do. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I had this deal. It was a perfect deal. Met with the client. I mean, 3 months. It was a $7 million deal. It was one of the first bigger deals I've ever done in my life. And we got it approved, good to go. Loan docs ready to go out, and we're like, all right, last thing we're waiting on because it was the IRS issue was tax transcripts. And the tax transcripts came back and they were nowhere near what they gave us. And we're like, what's going on here? And they're like, CPA's like, oh, those aren't the returns that they filed. And we're like, what? So this was a big deal. I mean, we got environmental issues.
Oh yeah.
There's all kinds of, I mean, there was so many avenues we had to go around to get this deal approved, and we got it done. And and we had to decline them, and we had to red flag it and send it to tax fraud, essentially, is what we did. And so, that was a deal that really was interesting to me because that was an eye opener, right? Because I was newer to the business. I'm like, wow, people actually do this. Like, I can't believe this. Thankfully, I've never seen that since, but I know that there are people like that out there. So that was one that was kind of threw me a curveball at the end.
Yeah, I think I see a lot of that. Well, maybe it's not fraud per se, but a business acquisition transactions, Bar sends me all these internal financials. They look great. I'm like, okay, give me the tax returns. Give me the tax returns. Give me the tax returns. Seller's very leery about doing that for whatever reason, which I already puts up, warning flags, and you get them. Okay, you like it. You're like, how can I do it? Well, I add back this, add back this, add back this. I'm like, I think that's a challenge. Oftentimes, I think, I've never seen a business owner plan well on selling their business, right? Say, hey, the next couple of years, I can't cheat on my tax returns, right? I need to actually show a good profit and so on and so forth. And then they sell it, right? They always just, shield themselves, which I don't fault them for. I mean, I've never been in that position. I might do the same thing to a certain extent. But if I'm really realistically have a 3 or 5 year plan to sell my business, then you just got to bite the bullet on that side of things, right? And do well and pay taxes because, the bad thing about paying taxes, you have to pay tax. The good thing is that it means you're making money, right? So that's the way I see it. That's to justify, I guess, my tax returns, right? So
Yeah, I've seen some crazy adverts kind of adding to what John said. There was this couple that took trips to Europe and it was on the financials and they're like, well, this was a personal item, so can you add it back? I'm like, it's not supposed to be in there as a business expense. You have a yogurt shop. What are you doing in Europe? And it's like,
Wait, it's not allowed to be added back, really?
yeah. So, I mean, we all see those kind of things, right?
What are you doing in Europe?
Yeah.
Exploring yogurt flavors.
It's a yogurt shop. That's awesome.
You got $40,000 in meals and entertainment, and they're like a contractor, What?
Yeah.
What about credit? Do they ever get in your way, or are they same team?
Ooh.
It sounds like it's a bit of both.
You know what I do with credit is that I tell them, hey man, if you don't approve my deals, I'm leaving the bank. No, I'll do it. Don't do that.
No, you do.
I'll take my talent somewhere else. No, the thing with credit is that it's all about credibility and just, for me, it took quite a bit of time to kind of build that, reputation, right, within credit, right? And you just need to address all the weaknesses of the credit, right? I mean, just talk about it, and just obviously, you got the mitigants as well. But I think it just takes a little bit of time, right? For someone like me who's been here for almost 10 years now, so they know the type of deals I bring to the table and, what deals don't work, what works. So, I mean, it gives us a little bit of credibility, right? And that goes a long way when you're selling yourself to the brokers, right? It's like, hey man, I know what I'm doing. I've got some pull here. Here's what I cannot do and can do. And I think that alone goes a long way. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be the same page as credit. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Daniel. I think it's better to pre-screen the deal first And if there are potential issues that, you think you might run into,
Right.
address that up front. So if it's addressed, then I go back to my credit admin or credit manager and I pre-discuss it, done. I never have problems at the end. I mean, there are things that pop up, obviously, right? That you never knew about. There's some issues here and there. But, if you address the more serious questions and issues up front, and yeah, some brokers, borrowers fight back, and they'll be like, "Are you trying to decline the deal or trying to help me here?" And I tell them, "I'm trying to help you, right? We have to address this now, or it's going to be a big problem later. And if you don't have an answer, then we got to think about the deal."
Yeah, I think I used to be in the credit side, and I flipped the sales side because it was just driving me crazy in the credit side. But I will say, the good credit folks, the good credit approvers, if you kind of what Andrew's saying, if you notice the challenges and you mitigate them and you hit them
Yeah.
head on, you ask the questions ahead of time, they feel so much better. In fact, sometimes credit people start arguing in your favor. Like, hey, look, this is bad, this is bad. I'm like, well, actually, but John, look at, he's got a good balance sheet. I'm like, oh, perfect.
Way.
Kind of fell into my trap. No, I'm kidding. But it's like they kind of start arguing on the borrower's behalf when obviously you're ready because you have, you notice these things. It's not like you're just the best thing. Any deal I bring is just the best deal in the world, right? And that's not how I state things. And I also always say to credit, I'm like, look, God knows I don't want this deal to get audited and get a hand slap because I know they're going to go straight to me and they're going to go to you and they're going to be pissed at you, but you're probably going to get it worse. But I'm the one that brought the deal in and convinced you to, approve it, right? So I think you just got to structure a deal properly. And, nobody wants a deal to go bad and follow you around the bank because it's painful. I've had my people had loans that go bad and follow you around and I'm the manager, right? So all fingers point to me, right? So nobody really wants that. You just got to go eyes wide open and just notice the weaknesses and disclose them and mitigate them like Daniel said.
Guys, great episode. I love getting to know you guys even more, especially because again, we're all new here, but it's been nice. You're all very educated, you're smart, and you're very driven, not only for yourself but for your borrowers. So again, if anybody ever has any topics or suggestions, shoot them over to us. We love those live questions and episodes from our listeners. So that email is the BDO Show at artofsba.com, and we will see you next time.